All right. Hey, everybody. It is Monday, November 26th, and glad you guys are all here. My name is Dee Corchin, and here for our weekly team time. And just really love that you guys are invested, that you're here to really grow in Optavia, is to be somebody who's willing to learn, to be a student, to make the best effort you can, to gain the most knowledge you can, to be the best for your clients and coaches, and the business just grows from there as long as we put in the work and the action. So tonight we're going to be talking about setting up a new client and follow-up structure, and super excited that Meg Johnson is going to be pretty much facilitating this call tonight. I'm going to be working over on the chat. So Meg, I'm going to turn it over to you. You want to unmute?
Yes, awesome. Hey guys, so excited for tonight, and any of our Atlanta area coaches, we are really excited for our event on Saturday. Highly recommend that you find a way to be there and invite your clients and coaches. It is going to be awesome. So wanted to throw that out there. And as we are finishing November strong this week, it is not too late to put something out there about any of the deals that Dee posted about. I did it today for the first time and heard from 2 people. So you never know who's out there waiting to say yes if you just show up. So just wanted to throw that out there. But the purpose of tonight really is, it's our second week of this new format, and we want to hear from you. So there's couple of questions that Dee posted on the training on the Facebook group. But just as we get started and get kicked off here, would somebody share with us something really impactful that they heard from the training? Katie.
Sure, I don't mind. Oh.
Go for it.
Go ahead. All right. I don't mind sharing. I think, the message for me was we cannot forget to follow up. So I think, and I try to do that as much as I can, but I think in the shuffle of the daily, client calls and coach supports and all that sometimes goes to the wayside. And I really loved how Corey postured it, so you don't annoy your people, but you really connect. It's about connection and caring, we know that. But, and I think for new coaches it's really difficult sometimes, just because they're afraid. There's a little bit of fear, like, well, I'm going to get on their nerves or whatever. So, and I really loved, this was such a great training in follow up and how to really, really do it. So it was great to review that. So thank you.
Yeah, I love that, Dominique. And just curious, because I know all of us get so busy with life and clients and family and you name it. How are you going to change what you do with follow-up to make it happen throughout the week or the month? What are your takeaways on that?
Well, first of all, I'm going to keep all those health assessments of the people who said no in one folder and not have them spread out sometimes. And really just, I have reorganized my client calls and things a little bit. So Friday is kind of my wrap-up day. And I really, at least once or twice a month, really just go through that folder, call the people and follow up, so, and really schedule it. Just like Corey says, you got to schedule everything, so, and I think that's just going to be my my way to do it.
What do you think potentially could keep you from that? Do you think there might be anything getting in your way from scheduling it?
Sure. I mean, not scheduling it, but there's always other things. But it's I'm gonna do it first thing in the morning, 9 o'clock, and get it done. So if I keep it till the end of the day or later in the day, there's other things that are always going to be in the way, and make it a priority. Really, yep. We'll see.
Love that. Well, please share in the Facebook group once you do it, how it goes. We'd love to.
Also, just real quick, I think the newsletter is really important too. I've used that too, and looked at the activity in the newsletter, and use that also to follow up. And include that in my Friday follow up.
That's a great point. That newsletter is an Optavia share for anybody who hasn't used it yet, and it is a great way to drip on your prospects. Thanks for bringing that up, Dominique.
You're welcome.
All right. So Katie, you had your hand raised when we were first starting. What did you take from the session?
I got a couple of things. First, I loved how he said people are walking through life without purpose and direction. And I just love that because I just pictured, people just kind of walking around, and I myself, there are days that you're just kind of walking around, and it's just been nice to think of it that way, and then just kind of say, okay, maybe I can help with giving them, or I guess enlightening them to a purpose that they didn't know was in them. That's been my own thing. Someone kind of said, whatever this gift is, it's always been in you. It didn't just happen 3 years ago when you got into this. And so that's one thing I've taken forward, that I'm like, okay, these things are in these people and they just don't know it. And it's been buried with all this other garbage from life that's just got packed down. And so I think it's part of my job to ask the questions and maybe things that they haven't thought about to kind of have those come to the surface. So I kind of love that thought. The other thing I liked was the follow-up. And I actually stopped, and that's what I like about being able to stop the training. I actually stopped it when he showed where he messaged the guy and that he's been trying to get. And because there's one lady, the only difference was there's one lady that didn't show up for our initial health assessment. She no-showed me. So I've been following up with her. So I've never actually spoken with her. But I've already friended her. I friended her on Facebook, like before we were supposed to talk. So I do see she's following me. She's liked some things I've said. She's, so I followed up with her a couple times. So I muted it and followed up with her again. Because it's been 2 weeks. So I did take that where I'm not like burdening her. I'm trying to just, hey, be a positive, and is there any questions you have? Is there anything I can shed light on? Is there, anything I can help you with? So I just kind of left it with that. So that was really helpful.
Yeah. And Katie, question for you on that, because I think this is something we all struggle with. How do you handle the disappointment or the feeling of rejection when you post something, when you message somebody to follow up and they don't respond? How do you manage that?
I honestly, that was one thing I've really been pretty good about. I've learned just through, I think, raising my children and having teenagers and understanding that you don't take something personally because literally you're not on their radar at that moment. And another mom shared that with me who's got like 4 boys. And she said, literally, it's nothing personal. You're literally not in their world. And I take that with me everywhere I go. And it's really, really helped me not take something personally because life does get in the way. And I know, and I liked how he said that you want to, I know she wants to improve on her health. But whether this is the time for her, I don't know, maybe not. But it's not my place to judge that and just assume she doesn't want to try it. So I'll just keep kind of, reaching out there. And I actually did that with another person who emailed me, and then they finally responded and they just said, sorry, life's been crazy. I'm good for now, but please, feel free to check on me in a month. So that kind of makes you go, okay, I'm doing the right thing. Yeah. So yeah, I don't take it personally.
Thank you for sharing. That was gold right there. Yeah. And if anybody else has a perspective to share on how they manage that, if you'll pop that into the chat. And I think Zena, I saw your hand raised. And you're muted. Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, it wasn't on that, but I had an exact example today from something that I learned from Corey that there was someone that I had been talking to, did a health assessment back in September when I was in North Carolina. And she was like, right on, I'm in it. And then when it came time for her to give me the credit card, she's going to wait till next week. Well, since then, I have been following up and calling, and I have not gotten any response. And so, just after Corey, I went back to just look who I haven't called since I wasn't getting answered. And she came up and I called her today. And the conversation, the wording that I used was really what was different that I got from the call. And it was like, she said, I'm sorry I haven't been in touch. I really appreciate you calling, but I'm having a hysterectomy on Wednesday. And I said, life happens and life gets in the way. And so what I asked her is, would it be okay if I followed up with you? And I want to make sure that how you're doing and how that is. And so I wouldn't have asked that question. Can I, keep in touch with you? And so that really gives me the freedom to be in touch and know she's going to answer me because I've already asked. So that I really got. And I thought that was great because I got to use those wordings and everything today. So I enjoyed that.
Yeah, love that. Thank you for sharing that, Zena. That's really helpful. As far as the first half of the call about onboarding clients and getting a new client started, did anybody take any best practices from that they want to start incorporating, or anything to share from that first segment? You just will raise your hand or pop off mute. I know we can't see everybody.
Dominique just asked the question, who's doing the automatic, doing the essentials kit automatically, and who customizes their order. So that's really a best practices that would be worthy of some conversation.
Absolutely. I'll share this, Dominique, with everybody. What I've learned is it is always better to do the kit for any new clients that I get. Even, I had a best friend start last couple of weeks ago. I ordered her the kit. Everybody gets the kit unless you have like some kind of crazy allergy or something like that going on. And I found that my clients have a better experience when they do that, when we get the whole kit, because the way that they formulate what's in the kit is all the favorites. Right. So you just got to, and we don't ever know what somebody's going to like, what their taste bud profile is going to be. So in my experience, people usually have less returns when they get the kit. And then we give them we can customize their 5 freebies if you want to. But that's the way that I do it. Does anybody do it differently and want to kind of talk about what that's like?
Carol, do you want to share, like, what change have you noticed when you're no longer customizing? Like, is it more efficient for you now, or what's that look like?
Are you talking to me, Carol?
Which Carol posted in there that just said, is it Carol?
Can you see me? This is Carol Schaefer. Can you see me? Because I'm not getting a feed on the video here.
I don't think so.
Dee, are you talking about when you said Carol?
Yeah, Carol Quintero.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
There's several Carols on this call.
Yeah, I just noticed that.
In the beginning, Lori and I used to totally customize each order. It took a really, really long time. And then at some point, I think it was after conference, I said, we're really doing things the wrong way, because what we do is what our coaches are going to do, our clients are going to do. If that's the process that they went through with us, then they're going to think that that's what's supposed to be done. And that actually occurred for us with one of our coaches, where we said, it really makes sense for you to just do the kit for the first time, and you can customize it with the 5 additional fuelings that they get. And she said, no, I really prefer. And so I looked at Lori and I said, that's exactly the reason that it always needs to be the kit, as the person said, unless there are allergies. So yeah, because we want them to have the handbook and we want it to be duplicatable. And it's so much faster too. It isn't a cumbersome experience for people to get started, and it's not a cumbersome experience to get them signed up either. It was a great switch.
Awesome, Carol. And how did that go with that coach? How did that conversation go to switch him to the new way of doing things? It was a challenge.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's really unfortunate because we shared the wisdom of why it absolutely makes sense to do it, but you can't make somebody do something. You know, she's not my employee. So we just strongly encouraged it and made the point of why it makes sense, the duplication and the ease and the time that's involved. But ultimately, at least last time we spoke about it, she wanted to keep doing it the old way.
Okay.
And I don't mean the old way that everybody's been doing it. I mean the way that we started so many months ago that we have subsequently changed and are very happy that we made that change.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. For sure. Can anybody on here speak to the texting campaign for bringing on a new client? Does anybody utilize that with their clients? Debbie, looks like you do.
I love it.
Will you tell us more about what it is and where we can find it and how that's helped you in your business?
Well, it's in the Simple Systems, and there is a separate Simple Systems for that gives all the day after you talk to somebody, the day you talk to somebody, the next day, the next day, the next day. There's like 4 days that you can follow up after someone has said yes while they're waiting for their order to come. And I think it's brilliant because it gives people a drip. It has a health assessment in there. It attaches the Dr. A's Stop, Challenge, Choose. Like there's just so many little pieces and parts that I feel like it already begins the process of integrating them into what is an amazing system.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And Dee just posted in the chat that she'll post a link to that text campaign in our group. So you can look for that in the Facebook group. What about, and I don't know if Julie is on the call tonight, but what about encouraging your clients to post in the Facebook group and really engage in that as a part of starting with becoming a client and launching them? Does anybody have trouble with that and maybe want some pointers with how to do that? Or does anybody feel like they have it down pat? I'm just trying to make sure I see everybody on the screen. Raise your hand if you feel like you have it down pat. Zena? No? Katie? Do you have it down pat, Katie? All right, will you share?
I mean, I don't know if I down pat. I mean, I just always encourage them. I just started doing that a couple, really when Optavia sent that thing out and they were like, we want your clients to really post versus you posting for them. And I just started doing that from the get-go and just said, to be, when I go into the 4 components of Optavia and I talk about community, I said, to make this, what it can be, it's always whatever you put in is what you're going to get out. And when you're integrated into something, then you're going to get the most bang for your buck. And so I said, with that, if you could go on and you could just post that this is your first day or you're waiting on your kit or whatever it may be, but just say your story and you will be amazed at how many responses and the community and the family that you have. And people, whether it's good things or bad things or whatever you have, and they've all done it. And they all, I think, were surprised at the responses. And they're like, oh, it made me feel so good when somebody just said, gave me a thumbs up or they gave me something. And I think that it just showed them that when they put them, versus me doing it for them, it's, when they do it, they take an interest, they do it themselves and they get a bigger reward out of it.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Katie. Frank, I saw your comment that you have some clients that refuse to engage in the Facebook group. Would you mind coming off a mute and kind of sharing with us about what's going on kind of behind the scenes in that and kind of their point of view?
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I've never unmuted here. We have a lot of clients that are not engaging on that page, and we're telling them the same things that Katie just said. Some are not on Facebook and don't want to be on Facebook. Shauna just signed up a realtor a week ago. She already has her kit. And she's not, we told her, get on that page, introduce yourself, and they're just not doing it. And we understand that, that's a key component to be more active and see the success and the encouragement, but they're not doing it.
Now, do you, for the people that are on Facebook, because there are a segment of people that aren't on Facebook, but the people that won't engage on there, are they looking at the page at all? Do you know if they see what's going on?
I don't think so. No. And we've had some people on that page that have dropped off of that page, and we see a pattern developing. Once they drop off that page and they're not engaged, they also drop off the plan. So we know the importance of that page, and we understand that, but we're trying to figure out how to get them more engaged on that page. And the last several people that we've signed up, we haven't introduced them to the page. We're waiting. We're still waiting, and we're kind of in a dilemma.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Have you considered telling them about the research study you did and saying, here are some things that we've noticed with our clients, that the ones that are engaged in the community have more success than the ones that don't? And maybe as a precursor to that, ask them if they would like some tips to have the most success they can with the plan.
I don't think so. Shauna does all the introduction type calls. I've only done 3 health assessments. I do a lot of recruiting, finding new clients for her. So that's my job. So, and then she does all the initial calls. I don't think she's told them that. And she's busy on client calls tonight, and she's signing up a new person right now. So that she's not here tonight. I don't know if she's done that. I'll mention that to her.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Good. I'm glad it was helpful. And thank
you.
Popping off mute for the first time. That's a big deal.
Okay. So thank you.
Yeah, everybody's cheering you on.
We like hearing your voice, Frank. And thank you for the feedback, the honest feedback. We're really trying to figure out the best system to use. What was not working well was just the feed being just filled with introduction. And many times we would introduce, and then nobody else on the page would even welcome them. So they were kind of left hanging. But we would find even when we did that, they were not engaging anyway. So we're just really kind of playing with this to see if we can find another way. One of the things I have been doing now is I'll say to my clients, like like when we're doing the night before call, I'll say, hey, I got a question for you. Is it important for you to be successful on this program? Like Meg said, like really posture it more as a question. Is it okay if I share something with you? And what we find is our clients who are engaged in our community, which is primarily through a Facebook group, are the ones that have the biggest success. So you'll see our normal posture is our clients introduce themselves. If you have any questions, any concerns as you're getting started, great thing to do would be to put it out there. Sometimes they won't actually do that introduction of themselves, but I will find that they'll jump in and comment on something else. But we're evaluating it. We welcome your input on it, trying to find the best system for our team.
Love that. That is exactly true, Dee. And another thing, Frank, another idea, when clients come to me with questions now about like the condiment guide or the cauliflower foods, my response is that's a great question. Even if I know the answer, I'll say, hey, why don't you ask the Facebook group and see what they say? And that way, number one, you're training them to use the Facebook group. Number two, all of your clients are going to benefit from that. versus you being able to look at the condiment guide and answering that question. That's just a great way to start them getting engaged with the group. So just wanted to throw that idea out there. Katie?
One quick thing I just want to say is a lot of these people too, they're very shy on the most part, and the idea of putting themselves on Facebook is terrifying, even though it's online. I had that with one, and then another, she was like, I hate social media. I just da-da-da. And I just said, yeah, but this is a positive influence in your life. These are all like-minded people, and they're going through the same journey you are. And so it really is a totally different type of social media on Facebook. It's not your typical thing, but I think a lot of it is they're not really confident enough yet in the early stages to really put themselves out there, because we all know when we've posted any kind of like pictures or transformation, I know me, it's like I waited 3 weeks before I put mine out there. So I try to kind of get in their heads and think, they're probably just not in that right place yet. So maybe these people will do it later. I don't know.
That's a great idea. Thank you for sharing that. It has to be the right time for everybody. Now, here's the question. Would love for somebody to come off mute and just be really vulnerable and honest. Does anybody have a really hard time with the idea that Corey mentioned about following up 7 or 8 times? Carol T, will you come off of mute? Will you tell us more about kind of the mindset behind that?
I guess, for one, I'm more shy, and just now reconnecting with a lot of people from high school and sorority from 30 and 40 years ago. And so when I have the health assessment and I see them following me, and I've talked to them 2 or 3 times, and they've made it pretty clear that they're not ready, I don't feel comfortable to keep asking.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do keep connecting. I do the stuff like Corey's saying, and just following up and seeing how they're doing.
Yeah.
So I do it in that sense. I don't. But as far as bringing up the plan again or whatever, that's a little bit harder for me. I mean, I can follow up and say something about their kids or say something about a post they do, but it seemed like I remember him saying something like maybe monthly or a little bit, bring it up again. I don't feel comfortable doing that with some of them. I mean, obviously it just depends on who it is.
Sure. That's a great point, Carol. We don't want, if anybody makes it clear that they don't want to move forward with the plan, we don't want to just keep on messaging. But the plan, this is going to help you. You can do this. Yeah. That's not the approach that we want to take. And so it sounds like you are doing the right thing. You're showing them that you care about them. You haven't given up on them. You might not ask them about the plan, but they know what you do because they see it on Facebook. So just living your life out loud and being interested in them. I think that's the perfect approach. I think that's awesome.
And they are still liking things I post. So, I mean, it's not like they've gone off the deep end or anything.
Yeah.
But
I love that. We have to be sensitive to what other people want and make sure our hearts are from that place of caring, not trying to close the deal or, get the rank or whatever it is. And I go back to think of Dee. If I go and scroll back a year ago at all the times she followed up with me and I never responded, but I looked at him and I thought about him, but I wasn't ready. And I didn't even give her the courtesy of the response. So just because they're not responding doesn't mean it may not be for them later.
Right. I also like that. You mentioned that closing the deal. I like that about we're not closing a deal. We're just caring for them. I really like that. I don't know if that was this call or something else, but I like that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that was really good. I loved when he said, like, not to follow up and just be like, are you ready yet? Are you ready yet? Are you ready yet? Oh, I've got an incentive. Are you ready yet? But I love that one message he had where he actually checked in about the baby or something like, hey, how's it going with the baby? And then that's when the guy said, oh, I really need to get with you about your program or whatever he called it. So very good. And I remember a few times calling Meg and just saying, hey, I just wanted to check in. I remember a January call to you. I thought for sure she's going to be ready. It's January. And Meg was like, no, thanks. But she never told me not to call her. So I called again. I'm glad I kept following up. Aren't you glad I followed up? See, we've got a bunch of Megs out there. If you're not following up, we're missing Megs. So you never know. So Meg, thank you. Brilliant job with the call. And let's just continue the conversation on the Facebook and in the Facebook group. I'll post the recording for those that missed it. Next week, the first call of the month of the new month is always a celebration call for our rank up. So you're going to want to be there for that because success leaves clues. So we always want to talk to people who are moving up in ranks. So thank you guys. Let's hop over to Dr. A's call and hear from our leadership team. Thanks again. Thank you, Meg.